Welcome to No Such Thing as Normal podcast with Natalie Hayes and Jess McKeown.
This is a casual podcast where we talk about all of the things you're not supposed to talk about in order to help you normalize your real life, because really we're all just a bunch of weirdos having a completely human experience in a society that asks us to pretend like we're not.
And I'm your host, Jess, a gifted channel for the spirit baby realm who facilitates deep soul healing by delivering divine messages and teaching you how to connect with your spirit babies.
And I'm your other host, Natalie, an intuitive mentor and transformative healer. Yep, that's it.
That's a lot, but yes, that's it.
That's
Be sure to subscribe where you listen to podcasts. Watch our 100% unedited episodes on YouTube. Today, you'll see my bird flying behind us,
Yes.
as well as my husband.
Yeah.
Not flying, though.
Unfortunately.
And I know, right? And you can follow us on Instagram at McJaguar and at Intuitively Natalie for more weirdo and woo-woo content.
And on Threads.
And on Threads.
And if you like this episode, please be sure to rate, review, subscribe, share it on social media, tag us, tag your weird friends so that more people can unleash their weird with you. So we have Lyndsay Diamond back with us today, architect of the new world, medical intuitive, and galactic guide. And we are stoked to talk about all of this stuff that's been happening, because I don't know about you guys, but I have been exhausted for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yes. So get out your big crystals
Get out
to
your big
anchor
crystals.
yourself.
Or your little crystals.
Or your little crystals. Because this is going to be an out of this world conversation, as it usually is with Lyndsay, which we love because we are ready to get out of this world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Specifically into 5D.
Yeah. So excited to be here with you guys today. And this does feel really big, hence why my picture is not available, because we're having technical difficulties, delay. The energy's big. So this feels really big. Feels like an anchoring in. It feels like a lot of new information comes through as far as codes and all the stuff. So exactly, get your crystals out, pull over, some space to anchor for those and ground. It feels so big and beautiful. So thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have like a lot of questions, because I feel like the stuff that we're going to talk about is going to be so like in depth. But I think the main thing is like what has been going on, because we had to reschedule even because the energy was still like clicking in. So what the fuck?
Can everybody just hold each other and just have a nap? Like, I feel like we just need a nap. There's almost like this, when I felt into the collective and what needed to be heard in this podcast, like what wanted to flow through for your community, your audience, but also even beyond that, because it always ripples out beyond, right? Just by holding that energy. And it's almost like humanity is having this existential crisis right now.
Bless us.
Yeah, like, who am I? Right? And truth as we've known it, right? Truth external to ourselves right now is very confusing. And we're really in a space of honing in on ourselves, our truth, our journey. We're moving through this portal of change. And when I say we're moving through this portal of change, I mean like next month.
Oh, quick. That's because you don't normally give like definitive timelines.
No, and I wanted to share that because there's a big like, what's happening, what's going on, when is the new earth here, what are we doing, right? We always want to know. We as humans want to control and feel safe, and it helps us understand ourselves and what we're going through, right? Hence, like, what the hell is going on right now?
Yeah.
But the new earth anchoring, and I know we're all feeling it, right? Like, something is changing, something is different. We're more sensitized. What once works, like, are you guys finding your tools are just not really doing what they used to do? Like, things are changing, and we're having to find new ways to harness our experience, our moment, the energy, the incoming energy. Like, we're changing ultimately, right?
Right. I totally feel that.
Essentially, what just happened over the past couple of months, actually around the eclipses, is I think it's around the eclipses, right before that, we connected back to the organic structure of our organic way, the organic timeline of how we are meant to exist. Okay. So essentially there's like, we have whiplash right now. Ultimately, we were moving in this direction of, healing, and it was, moving at a faster rate than we've ever known. And then it was like, bam, and we're moving in another direction. And if you think about it, separation is the core, that core energy that has kept us disconnected from ourselves, that has kept Earth in that lower framework. It's the polarity, it's this or that, it's the good, the bad, right? It's all things that have kept that separation in place. And what happened is humanity essentially shifted into the organic timeline and dropped out the lower realms.
Like officially.
Yeah, drop them out. So for me, that happened. I was dreaming about it all night. There was, I call it a convergence because that's how I experienced it. And just remember, everyone, this is so important. Your truth is like the only truth, right? And there's absolute truth, but as we navigate this space and this process, your truth is everything. Like your experience, what you're feeling, it's like the grabbing onto that golden thread of you and connecting to that next layer, like hand over hand, like I'm, moving more towards me, moving further into myself. And there's nothing outside of us. This is all inside right now. You can't find this outside of you right now. So yeah.
Okay.
It's all about that inward journey. And I know I'm like all over the place, and we're going to go back to the separation thing here. It's so big, but you can't find it outside of you right now. So it's almost like, I'm going to go back to separation. Okay. But it's almost like getting really selfish, right? That's what it feels like. But we can't go through this portal holding shit that's not ours. We can't carry anyone through. We can't hold what's ours to hold, because we are moving into our individualized expression, right? So we're all anchored into that Garden of Eden, that story. And now we're creating our own gardens of Eden, right? Our own individual Garden of Eden. Yeah. Right.
I love when my daughter shows up on the podcast.
Oh, do you want to share that?
Yeah, her name is Eden, after the Garden of Eden.
Of course, right?
Yeah. And I feel like this Aries North node that's coming in tomorrow is gonna give all the non-Aries who are like, what's this, like thinking about myself first? I'm really good at it, you guys, but like I think it's gonna help us to realize it, that it's not like that word selfish, like it has such a bad connotation, but it's like, if we don't take care of ourselves first, that's how I see it as. It's like taking care of yourself first. That's what selfish is. It's like you first, but like we have to be, because in order to be, I think, the Libra component of it, which is like thinking about the collective and the balance, we have to first start with ourselves. We have to get ourselves into this new integration, and then the collective energy will come from that, because we want to connect at that new level and not at the old level.
Right.
Yes, we're connecting through wholeness versus entanglement, karma.
Yeah.
Right?
Enmeshment.
So in order, enmeshment, right? So we're moving into wholeness, fulfillment, love, abundance, like joy. We're like, what does that even look like? What are you talking about? Because we think we're dying, right? It feels like sometimes, are we going to make it, right? Are we really going to make it through this? What is happening? So that's a really good point, Jess, like that selfishness, right? What we think of as selfish is really us just filling ourselves up first, giving ourselves what we need. Can you imagine the ripple effect that would have if everyone started with themselves each and every day, gave themselves what they needed, fulfilled themselves, filled yourself up, tended to you, and stepped out in the world in a way that you could share that you have something to give, right? We're all running around depleted and, go, push. And this energy is all about slowing it down, right? Creating space, and time is changing, right?
Yes.
Definitely changing. You can have a day that feels like it's like 10 minutes, and you can have a day that feels like it's 2 weeks, right? It just depends on your experience, but yeah. Overall, it's faster. Did you want to add something to that, Jess?
It's just, I have been noticing that a lot lately. Like something was yesterday, something happened yesterday, and it feels like it was a month ago.
Yeah.
I feel like a completely different person the next day because of how rapid the changes are happening. And
Yes.
that's been hard for me to understand. I've sort of just been like, why does it feel this way? Why is it moving so quickly and so differently? But I kind of came to this point where I was like, I'm gonna be here for this change. Like, and I got really excited. Like,
Mhm.
Yes.
I incarnated because I was like, why the fuck did I incarnate it this time? Like, girl, but like with all this rapid increase, I'm like, I get to see it. Like
Mhm.
decades and eons of work, I finally get to see it. So I'm pumped.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
it's so big. And going back to that August marker for me, what it feels like, and I'll give you like the bare bones of what it feels like. There's turbulency moving up to that August 1st. I see it as August 1st. It's
Mhm.
like we go over a little bump and then it's smoother because right now the new earth signature and expression is available through us, but there's an anchoring in, or almost as though the way I describe it, like we're able to walk the terrain, we're
Mhm.
able to feel supported beneath us, right? And everyone's at a different phase. I'm just connecting to my perspective, my experience, and what I'm witnessing. So it's always important to note that not everyone is doing the same thing and not everyone is having the same experience. There's many versions of Earth that are going to
Mhm.
be available. There are many experiences to be had. So as we're moving into this separation, this bifurcation, right? The old and the new.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Natalie. Were you going to add something?
No, the bifurcation. That's like going to be the title of this episode because it's the bifurcation.
The bifurcation, the separate, right? It's all about separation, bifurcation.
Mhm.
Yeah. And as we, move further into that, it's already starting, right? And there will be like a dividing off. There will be a separation of the old and the new. Um, but I'm kind of I want to kind of reel it back here because I'm going off and I want to come back to what we were originally talking about. Jess, where were we going with that
Let's
specifically? When I got, because Natalie, I saw the door open and then I was like, oh my gosh, there she is. Right.
Oh yeah, I know. I got to feed her. I got to turn off my video.
That's okay.
Well, I think it's like you said, like we're talking about the timing, right? So like what's going to happen around August 1st, we're going over this kind of bump. You were
Yes.
describing what it looked like for you, and that you kind of clarified that everybody's experience will be different, but you're preparing us for this next move, I guess.
Thank you. There's so much coming in.
Yes.
It's yeah. So sometimes I might need you to reel me back in. That's
You
great.
got
Thank
it.
you. And so this bifurcation, right? We're moving into these newer energies, and the more that we kind of integrate and anchor the new energies, the more the old kind of falls away. And there is a separation that occurs, right? There's a separation of the old and the new.
Yeah.
And this bump, this like walking that new earth experience, every time there's a new expression that comes in, right? There's an opening up, there's a higher states of consciousness available. All that does is allow others who are not yet awakened more access to the awakening process, right? So it's like this all-encompassing moving forward with humanity. And this is something that was just coming through. It's really, really cool because we do a lot of this or that, right? Bad
Mhm.
or good, or,
Yeah.
oh, you're not awakened.
Yeah.
We kind of, we don't mean to judge, but it can come in, and judgment is just the lack of information, right? We can't connect the dots. It's the unconscious aspects of ourselves trying to understand what we can't, right?
Yes.
Logically
Mhm.
understand, right? So we try to explain that somehow. So when this separation occurs, we think of it as like, oh, they're not going to the new earth and they're not awakening, and we're like, there's something wrong with them, and it's not.
Yeah.
We've all done it, right? Like, oh my gosh, like as if they don't get it, and they just don't have access to that frequency yet within them, right? There's no space for that. And yes, we're moving into the new. Okay. And yes, humanity is going to be waking up. The mass awakening is starting, especially around this shift of this new terrain, like us being able to actually walk it, right? To embody it, to feel it, to experience it. So it's almost like that's going to get it's going to evolve and unfold, and we're going to move further into it. And then it's going to get kind of shitty for the people who are like, that awakening, that process of the breakdown. It's going to get chaotic. It's going to get crazy, because as the new is evolving, all the things that are hidden within that old, it's just this like unfolding, the exposing, the energy, right? All the facade is, it's kind of like why you can't tell what's truth right now. It's really hard to tell what's true outside of us.
Oh
Go
my
ahead.
God.
It really
It just,
is.
it looks so awful. And kind of what I'm hearing is that like, because they have to make a choice to come to the new vibration. They have to shed something or make room for. And it's almost like my guides are saying, like, this is the rest of humanity's like rock bottom to make that choice
Yes.
to like
But is
come to
it,
the new timeline or to be awakened or to see something differently.
I've heard that it's a pre-chosen thing though, that it's like a pre-life, like you don't get to change your trajectory necessarily because you like already decided. Is that
I
true?
think I think there is truth in that. And then I think there's things we don't know about that. It feels
Mm,
like it's not black and white. And my
mm.
guides are always so good at like, that's nice, Lyndsay. That's nice that you have that layer of information. Don't dot that, don't dot that I, don't cross that T. Good luck with that, because you just have a smidgen of it, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of like a lot of things that have happened on the planet that people are fixed on, right? This fixed trajectory. This is the way that it is.
Mm,
And my guides are like, yeah, that's nice that everyone on earth has like a little bit of information, but nobody has all the information yet, right?
Right.
So it's really important for us to stay open to what we don't know, right? Possibility. And yes, I do believe that there is a choice. It's kind of predetermined. You have to be able to hold the energy, right? You have to be able to hold that coding within your system, right? A lot of people hold the new earth blueprint in their framework, and like for me, that's part of the work that I'm doing. It's connected to the new earth blueprint, and I hold the old and the new, and I'm bridging worlds essentially, right? That's part of my
Casual.
mission. Pardon?
No big deal. It's really casual. It's
Well, we're all doing so much, right? And there's so much that we're doing that we don't even know, that we're not consciously aware of. And a lot of us do it kind of through our ascension process, or, kind of blindly walking through life trying to find our way. And there's this big thing happening behind the scenes on the back end where you're essentially ushering people over this new bridge, right? Bridging to the new world. And everyone has this mission that started so long ago. So many of us are fixated on what we're not doing, like that outward project, like not projection, but so much that output towards humanity, where we're helping humanity outright, and that's it, right? That's where it's what we see as mission. But what we don't know is the largeness of the behind the scenes, of you activating, of you taking space for you. It's one of the biggest, most profound things that I have ever found is when you're updating in your system and you go offline to come back online. You guys know that feeling where you feel like nothing fits and you feel like this is awful. And we tend to fight ourselves there. We're like, why is nothing working? And we try to make it, we get bigger and louder, and we have our temper tantrum because we want to understand, we want to fight. And it feels terrible. It can feel terrible when we don't really know what's going on. We can't connect. What we normally do doesn't work. And it's that space of breakdown. And that space of breakdown is like one of the most important spaces that we have. And what we're doing behind the scenes is insane, right? It's so large. And the contribution of that, like that ripple effect, and how that spans out into humanity, and the work that we're doing galactically and on the planet, and the things that we are alchemizing and shifting and updating so humanity can find its way. It's so big. And everyone is a part of that. And sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, and if you guys need to add something, but this is coming in. It's like, if we think about it, if you think about what this looks like, okay, so take a step back and look at humanity and what this looks like, this ascension process to the new earth. And we're like, oh yeah, they're not going to the new earth. Like, look at them, right? Well, If everyone was going to the new earth at the exact same time, our planet would implode. Like our planet would become, I
Yikes.
don't know, explode, implode. I don't want to get technical on that scientific. But if you know what I mean, like we wouldn't do it. There'd be too much of an imbalance. The scales would tip too far one way. So
Mm.
everyone is a part. If we can look at it like everyone is playing a role, so our earth can ascend into a new earth, right? So we can experience a new expression.
So what, okay, Jess
Mm.
and I have had a lot of conversations about how some people are already living on like a 5D timeline. Some are still on a 3D timeline, some, 4D, whatever. But we're seeing all of those realities of everybody else living on different timelines play out through social media. And that's like adding to the chaos and the confusion of your truth and your
Uh-huh.
reality. Is that how
Yes.
you also feel?
Yeah, I feel like, you can only access and let me know if this is what you're talking about, that it's confusing because everybody's kind of getting a different perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A different energy or channeling, right? So even like the convergence point or the flash or the solar flash or whatever you call it, the event, everyone kind of has a different take on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So remember that everyone holds a level of consciousness in their body that they can access. And we're all accessing that information through our vehicle, through our vessel, through our expression, through our experience. And nobody's enlightened just yet, right? Like we're moving there, we're getting there. But ultimately, like, I mean, oh my gosh, like sometimes I've had people say that to me before, and then I'll listen to myself answer someone. I'm like, that is not enlightened. That is not a very enlightened thing, right?
Mm.
We're like caught up in that enlightenment thing, but we're having a human experience that like we're moving through this time and space. And going back to your question, Natalie, because I'm way out in outer space again. So everyone's experience is different. The level of consciousness they hold, the level of truth that they can access. The other thing is there's a lot of imprints of energy. So my guides took me on a little tour not that long ago. I just talked
Ooh.
about this in my course Soul Print. And they had me go into the quantum field, and it was like watching a movie around Earth's historical past, right? Around truth and what has been. And there's all these trapped threads of light and information that hold a story.
Mm-hmm.
But the story isn't connected to the rest of the story, to the whole. There's a lack of information. So you can, as a channeler, and there's no right or wrong. We all work through this. We're all going in the same direction. There's no right or wrong, bad or good. You okay, Jen?
Yeah, I'm just like seeing all of time and humanity as you're talking. I'm like, this is
I love that
fascinating.
you're helping process that through yawning. I love it. And that those threads of information, there's bigger pieces of information. Like there's actual, it almost looked like when I was in there, land masses and civilizations that were intact, but they still weren't connected to the rest of the information.
Ooh.
So until we're all able to connect through a space of complete neutrality as our baseline, right? Like our algorithm in the background is neutrality. We are not perfect, right? So you will find that everyone wants to talk about what someone else isn't getting or someone else is doing. So all we can do is look at everyone and go, oh yeah, you're human, right? Yeah, that resonates with me. That doesn't. Great. Take it with you, leave behind. You really have to feel into your truth and what works for you. I had someone recently say, I shared someone on my social media, and this person, and she's learning, right? Sorry, Natalie, did you say something?
No,
Oh,
it's May.
oh, it's so cute. She just wanted to have a place on the podcast. That's
She
Aw,
did.
she
She
did.
did. She's done.
oh yeah, she say hi. It's so beautiful. So what ends up happening is it's hard, right? People are trying to find their way. They're trying to understand. And she says to me, I would have never taken you for a person or as a person that would follow that person. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, what do you mean? And and her experience, that's her experience, right? It didn't
Mm-hmm.
feel good for her. And I said, that's really important for you to listen to. And I shared my experience and the part that resonates with me. And I said, and I think that's really important to notice how that doesn't feel good for you and explore that, right? Explore the opportunity available there. Like, what about that doesn't feel good for you? Right? Is
Mm-hmm.
it something because it's misalignment? Is it triggering you because it's challenging something within you? And just really taking a step back and noticing we're all moving in the same direction and we all are working through this lens of our past, right? Through the
Mm-hmm.
lens of separation. We're still viewing it through that lens of separation. And it was really interesting, even to the point where my guides were sharing this with me the other day about how we view this separation of the old and new earth. And they were sharing, we won't view it as like this or that. We're going to view it as like, oh my gosh, we're creating this updating that's going to, because you know how there is no time, it updates back and changes the timeline of what was, right? It
Mm-hmm.
creates a whole new future, past. It's this constantly evolving chain of information. And when it goes back, they were showing me that Earth is uninhabitable, and it goes
Oof.
back to that initial framework of 2D or 3, I think it was 2D Earth, if I remember correctly. And it feels like that. And there was like, like maybe some minerals and bugs and stuff like that. Very,
Lizard people.
yeah, but it was just healing and processing and being and in a whole new way updating to what the work that we have done. It was like this going back in time to update what has been, and then it feels like a whole new ascension process comes in,
Mm.
Yeah,
right?
I've been doing things and I will hear, remember when we used to do this, as I'm doing it.
Ooh.
As in
Mm,
like what we're doing now will be more like a memory, but
yes.
like, and I've also been hearing as you're talking that like it's safe when people come to us with their experiences and say that they're triggered or whatever, to like you said, Lindsay, to like reflect back, for them to go
Mm-hmm.
explore, to do that internal journey. And my
Mm-hmm.
guides just said like the teachers won't be killed this time, right? Like, so
Oh.
we are in a safer place to be okay when people come to us and they're angry. Like when they're back in time, they would just kill us, right? Now at least people are willing to hear us or to have conversation with us.
Yes, it is safe to be us in this lifetime.
Yeah. And like almost like we have to be like, it's very important if you're a teacher, a healer, a light worker, to come on out of the, what is it, coming out of the broom closet,
The
right?
Yeah,
woodwork.
yeah.
Come out of the woodwork too.
Don't have the
But like,
woodwork.
because I think like, I don't know, that feels less scary to me when people are mad or angry or say something. Like, I love directing it back towards them. That
Well,
is the
because
only
it's not
place to
about
direct
you
them.
anyway.
Yeah. Whew.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's an opportunity. And I think that's the thing too, as we move beyond this separation and we start to see more of our truth and more of our power, right? Truth is our power, right? Truth is power. It's our innate power, who we are, our divine essence, right? Of all things. And when we look back, this is what's starting to happen. We're still working through this separation piece, but we're going to start looking at these things that felt so big and like had a hold on us, like grabbing a hold. They felt more powerful than us. They felt bigger than us. We felt enslaved, entrapped, in bondage, right? We just didn't have access beyond that. And now it's like, we have room to move when people trigger us. It's like, oh, there's another space to go now. I don't
Mm.
have to do that anymore. And when these things come in
Wow.
and you look at them and you face them and you just be with it, it's like, and you allow it to be seen, it softens. And now we're starting to witness, oh my goodness, you're just like any other energy. You just want to be seen and heard. It's like a child.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? And then it becomes less and less in the way of having power over us, less and less of a hold over us. And then we are able to see it through the lens of love, just through neutrality, which is love,
Yeah.
right? It's just witnessing and seeing. And then it just gets smaller and smaller. And eventually, it just wants to share its story, and then it can alchemize and leave a lot of times.
Yeah.
I feel like when you say neutrality, it's like having a regulated nervous system.
Yes.
Like that's where the neutrality comes from, is your own regulation. And that's kind of what we're going through, is learning how to regulate ourselves and not do the emotional labor for somebody else.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing that when people, all this desire to be seen is because there's also a desire within you to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can see each other, we can see how we are all the same. We are all the same energy. And that is the key. That's why we want to get to that place of seeing all the things, witnessing all the things, because like Lyndsay said, you can alchemize it. But like more importantly, it just gives you more and more connection to the oneness. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're not about to go fuck up the oneness because you're part of it.
And it feels good.
Yes, it's like, and we can't see others until we can see ourselves, right? Like,
Ooh.
yeah,
So true.
it's like, and that's a big thing, right? Are you guys feeling that
Chills.
divination of trust coming in, that self-trust and
Yes.
that distortion? And it's huge. It's part of that separation template, that imprint of energy that we hold. And trusting ourselves, trusting others, and trusting spirit, right?
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
higher essence and all things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once we can see ourselves fully, right? That's why getting really self-focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really narrowing in on, is that mine to carry? Giving yourself space, opening up. This is another thing. Who has spent their entire lives pouring out? It's like that output without allowing a lot of information to come in, without receiving, like that
Mm-hmm.
channel of receiving. And that's true balance, right? So until we can really give to ourselves,
I love that.
we can't
Yeah.
open up that channel. Yeah, with it, like
I'm snapping. I love that.
so
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. And then we're able to, there's an energy, a spark of compassion coming
Ooh.
in right now through the collective, right? Where it's giving everyone a little bit of space to, to have a little bit of compassion for themselves. And it's like a little igniting energy that I can feel. And it's big for
Yeah.
you to even feel a little bit of that for yourself, right? And if you think about healing, like what healers do, all we do is allow others to see themselves, right? We can't go and activate someone or heal them
Nope.
beyond what's available. We hold that container for them in order for whatever layer they're ready to work through, whatever activation is ready for them to come in. Being seen, held, contained, witnessed is everything. When you can
It
be contained
is.
like that, you can move.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I find it incredible how I've never met my clients before and they sit down and they just, wow.
Yeah.
And it just all comes out of them. And it's like, because this is a place where that story about their baby or their journey or their struggle with pregnancy and fertility and all that kind of stuff, like is being fully witnessed, not from their friends or no judgment, just like this pure, like you said, neutrality. And then what I bring in with the spirit babies is all this love. But people
Yes.
say that, like, they're like, I have several clients like, I just feel lighter. And I was talking with Natalie about this. I was like, what we're going to feel lighter on is the release of the emotional weight,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of this pain that we're feeling in the physical body is from
It's
other
emotion.
layers,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And it's like it's crazy how you realize when you're stressed and you're worried about this and all this kind of stuff, and then you have this session and you clear it or you speak it or you're witness, you're like, gosh, I feel brighter and lighter. And it's like you don't realize how heavy that stuff is. That's kind of what
Yeah.
I see a lot of that transformation too, is that emotional, mental distress that we've all been in.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
heavy.
It's so heavy. Yeah.
So
And
so
then
what
go ahead, Natalie.
so what's coming up in August, you said? Is it like the next phase of this on the trajectory to the bifurcation? Like, is it just like you said, being given access to new terrain or a new way to navigate the new terrain? Or is it the bifurcation?
It feels so it doesn't feel like it feels like another layer in the bifurcation is
Okay.
ultimately what it feels like. And Natalie, I just want to go back to nervous system afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's really, and every pen, I'm trying to write this down as we're talking. I'm like, oh, we have to go back to that. There's a really important point.
I feel like I should be taking notes.
Yeah, I'm like, I just say I'm gonna put like bullet points here. So we're moving further away from the old,
Mhm.
and it feels like the further we move into the new, the less availability for those old energies to exist, right? So that's
Mhm.
why these old energies of a system, right, that is built on separation, facade, illusion, distortion, inversion, right, an inverted reality,
Mhm.
essentially is going to get chaotic and crazy the more we move into the new, because it's not because, you know, our world is gonna fill in the blank, whatever, right? Whatever story we're all sharing, it's because all of it has to be exposed. It all has to crumble. It all has to fall away, right? There's no organic structure in that for it to anchor into. We're working with organic creation codes, right? So
Yeah.
it's not of truth. If it's not of alignment, it can't anchor. There's no way for it to anchor. So what you're going to see is you're going to see people in this energy. You're still going to like, yes, sometimes it can feel like a lot when you look out your window and you hear the news and you're like, oh my goodness, like, and you can't tell what's true right now, like
Mhm.
at all. And there's, you know, it's really mixed in on all sides. And like you mentioned about, you know, people accessing information, even on there's like a spiritual matrix too, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
As well. There's layer upon layer of matrix, multiple matrices. Anyway, so going back to that, we can't tell what's truth, right?
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, Natalie, where you have to anchor me back into this. See how big this energy is?
Well, I
Yeah.
wanted to say that like the energy is really big that we're talking about. We're talking about like big conceptual, like macro things, like the things
Yes.
we're seeing on the macro, but how it's been coming through in the micro in your own personal life. For me personally,
Oh, right.
there's been this like disillusionment, like the veils have been dropping around my relationships with people and the ways that I had stories around seeing them versus how they
Yes.
were actually showing up. So I'm seeing this play out in the micro by seeing it's like this. There's been a lot of grief over the past year for seeing people as they are, not who I want them to be.
Mm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that's how maybe people who are listening can relate it to their own. Like you're still doing all of this work, even though we're talking about like big conceptual ideas, but like this is how it could be playing out in your personal life. Is like these illusions are falling away.
Yes, these illusions are falling away. So you're connecting to more truth. The more truth you connect within you, the more access to your organic self, right? Your truth, the true essence of who you are as we're moving and ascending through this space and time of moving into a new earth. Those illusions and those distortions, especially separation, going back to that separation,
Mhm.
those
Mhm.
things that we believed and held and imprints and all of those things. Yes, macrocosm, but your experience is all about moving into, this is the biggest thing, letting things fall away, because
Mhm.
so many things are falling away. It's like a bunch of puzzle pieces moving around and you're reorganizing in your reality, because the more you move into your new timeline, it's like that doesn't work, that doesn't work, and we're changing timelines. It can be multiple times a day. Like, doesn't it feel like
Woof.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired.
Yeah, it's exhausting. Like, it's big. Yeah, it's like, oh, I think I like you know, I just,
Where am I?
yeah, I don't know where I am in time and space. So there is a really big shift in what's happening in us personally. And again, your experience around tying it to that bigger experience, that macro, your experience of what's happening around you, right? Like what your experience is um experiencing the new earth and having bliss and joy, because we're starting to access more of that. And I know when we're going through this space right now, it's harder to, because we're not feeling like great right now, a lot of us, but we're accessing more of that knowing, more of that manifestation, more of that truth. And that's why it's important to get really honed in on you, because what is falling away is not, I don't want to say it's not important, but if we focus on what's falling away, we can get pulled into things that are not ours to carry and are not important. It's really following that hell yes.
Just let
It's
it,
really
let it go.
that alignment. Yes. Is that what you say, Natalie?
Just let it go. Yeah. Like, don't chase it. If it's
Yeah.
going away, let it go away.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And a lot of times, I don't know if you're noticing this, do you know when you used to have something fall away or something happened with a friend or, whatever it is, a partner, do you not notice how quickly you're like, oh yeah, okay, that happened, whatever. And you're able to move forward because you have more information around it, right? It's not as that abandonment wound that is so tied into the separation is resolving the trauma, right? I'll just go over some of the betrayal, fear, shame, guilt, lack of self-worth, enslavement. These are all things, lack of trust in ourselves. These are imprints connected to separation. So if you think about it, you look at that on a larger scale. Okay, so it's like literally changing timelines, popping all of those things into this organic connection, which is putting pressure on our systems, right? That's why we're not feeling well. There's so much shifting so quickly. And then think about all of these things, these structures that are built on, like you're saying, Natalie, how things that we thought, something that, I really wanted this to be this, but it's not, right? It's just not.
And like
Really,
allowing it to be that, not
yeah,
trying to change it, just like allow it to be that. Then like, okay, then that's not for me.
yes. And remembering this reorganization, because it really is like a reorganization and a reconnection, and just you connecting to the organic ways of you and how you are wanting to exist and what's meant for you and what you truly desire. So if you think about these things all around us built on facade and separation and all these imprints that we just talked about, can you imagine connecting to people, to love, to friendships without those imprints, just having true connection? Like, can you imagine?
I feel like
Amazing.
I do experience, Jess and I experience that connection.
Yes.
And it's so nice. It's so wonderful. Actually, like, I feel like the pendulum has swung, like, when we go from like being unaware to being like, oh, we're hyper aware. And I feel like we'll come back to like this middle place that's a little more comfortable. But I actually cried last week because I was like, I'm so happy. And it's not anything really that like external has changed that much. Like I'm still in the same house I was 2 years ago, whatever. I'm still married, Jenna. We've been together for so long. Like, but it's just like your perception and your like the way that you're existing in your reality. Like there is more spaciousness for those like blissful emotions to come through.
Yeah, definitely. So and if you think about it, how you're already feeling in your relationships, you both having that beautiful connection and fulfilling relationship already, can you imagine what's available from there?
I'm here for it. Sign me up.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And just with everyone, right? Everyone having that ability to connect, to drop the stories. I have found that I am going in between the worlds as well. And I very much know when I'm in the old ways because it is extremely painful. And I will dissociate and I will do all the things that I used to do, right? Not be present in my body, do all the old habits. And I can see myself being like, okay, this is another place where you have to let go of this obligation, or you have to disappoint people because you don't want to be there, like even though you were maybe expected or wanted or whatever. And that is that selfish part, because it's like, if I'm there, but I'm not, right? So what's the point of me being there, right? I could be using my energy in other places. Instead, I'm in this, oh, here we go. I'm in that bifurcated weird state
That doesn't feel
where
good.
my soul is somewhere else off in the forest, but my body is at some place I don't want to be. right? And so
Right.
it's like, and then that reconnection of my body and my spirit again takes time, takes energy, so it's like I can't
Yes.
keep doing that. That's like wasted energy is what I'm feeling.
Mhm.
And I think like we said, like all the emotions you listed, but to grieve a lot of these things, right? That we're so poor at grieving in this current timeline, but to just get better at it, right? Just to keep letting it go and grieving it, and because I think like the more that we do that, the less intense it becomes, and we can unhook.
Mhm.
Um, Now, Lindsay, when you were talking about all the anchoring, I saw these beams of light coming down onto the planet
Yes.
and these different areas that you're talking about. And I see that, like, I see like religion is like a very big, strong one. And, and so my kind of curiosity is like, do we need to do anything to help further this? I mean, I know that we have our assignment to kind of go within. Is that enough?
Oh my gosh, Jess, is that I
Is
love
that
that.
enough?
Like literally, like mic drop, is that enough? Like I love
Right.
it. Yes, you being you,
Mm,
everything.
I
You
love
being
this.
you is enough. And
Ah.
yeah,
What a
it's
concept.
Ah.
yeah, and we think we're very kind of conditioned to think that we have to do it this one way, or to hit the mark, we have to get this. And everything is about you being you and connected to that authentic self, your truth, that emanation flowing through, and trusting that, right? And then
Yes.
the more you seeing yourself, you giving to yourself, you filling yourself up, right? All things. And as we move more into this, we're the ones that are going to be building out the new. Like we're building it out energetically.
Mhm.
And this shift, right? The shift that's coming up August 1st, this is where the physical manifestation of this really starts to harness in. This is where we start to get moving more into it. We start feeling more. So it's more about our path. The more we focus on our path, our feeling, our hell yes, what we feel called to, okay, and really listening to that navigation system within is like everything, right? So if you're being called to rest, that's really important.
I
That's
also,
everything.
sorry, not to interrupt you.
No,
I
no,
have
no, go
these
ahead.
thoughts, and then we're in this like we're in outer space, and then they leave.
I know, no, 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 I know. That's why I'm like, what were we talking about? Oh my gosh, sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like okay, so Jupiter moved into Taurus in like May, right, Jess? Like Mayish.
Hmm.
So it's like Jess and I actually we also talked about this week. It feels like while things are moving quickly, it's like things aren't coming through as quickly because we're
Yes,
still building like foundational. So like with Jupiter and Taurus, the expansion might feel slow, right?
yes.
Like it's
Your
taking time.
yeah, your internal terrain, like just how you're like, I was crying because I was so happy,
Yeah.
right? But nothing in my external world has changed. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, so you have to remember, a lot of us are here to create the new. And in order to create the new, we're holding a lot of old that needs to be broken down. So we're breaking down the old. So humanity can have that pathway to travel, that portal. So that's accessible for them. So we're alchemizing it, we're holding it, we're experiencing it, right? So a lot of times the way that I talk about this is when you're in that breakdown, you know how nothing new comes in? It's like everything just stops.
Mhm.
And it's because we need to allow that well, it's like allowing it to dry up,
Mhm.
right? We don't want
Mm,
anything tied to the old shit, right? When we
mhm.
come back into that manifestation, because there is a little bit more of that manifestation coming in, there's more availability, it's starting to move, it feels more accessible, right? We're starting to have more connection and experiences and overall fulfillment, like little tidbits of it, right? Like a little bit more. But the physical manifestation, you're right, like it's a little bit slower to come in. And I feel like August is so big. It's when we're going to start to see some of that, some of those manifestations actualizing. And
Mhm.
we're building it out. But we are, if you think about this, who's going to live out the new? Right? Who are going to be, because for us, it's like the dangling carrot. We're never going to get there. This is never going to happen for us. Why is this taking so long? You know, we ask all of those questions because it's not easy. This is not an easy thing, right? That we've chosen for ourselves. And I don't know that there's a person in this ascension process that hasn't said, when is this going to end? And why would I ever freaking choose this? Like the first time someone said you chose this, Lyndsay, I was like, F you. I
Fuck
did not
you.
choose this. I would never choose this. I am like trying to abort myself off the planet here. I would like to go somewhere else, right? Take me home. But the thing is that that as we're working through these old, to re-encrypt them, to re-encode them to the new, because we have to feel it, we have to experience it in order to update it to a new way, right? And see it. We have to see it all, right? We have to see it through that lens of neutrality and wholeness in order for it to not be what it has been through that lens of polarity, the this or that. We see it through the whole of, oh, it's just an aspect of the universe, of God, of source, of whatever works. And you're like, oh, come here. I know it's been hard for you. You give it a little hug like a child, and the love and the witnessing of that, it doesn't have that same hold, right? So, or that same power, because we hold our own power, and we realize as we open up and access our memory that we are connected to the whole, right? As we connect to our whole, we realize, oh my gosh, we are the whole, the interconnectedness of all, and it's different. So the whole experience changes, and the more we access that, the more we start to realize that everything is accessible to us, right? That we have access to everything. So we are here building out the new energetically. Well, now we're going to start building it out physically. We are going to build out. So we are going to have to embody that new energy. We are going to experience the new earth. We are going to be the first people that experience the fulfillment, the abundance, all of that stuff, because that's the only way that it's going to manifest on the planet, right? That it's going to actualize. So we are going to get to live it. And we're like, what? Like, what does that even look like? Like, what, I can have whatever I want. It's like, yeah, you have a desire for a reason. You get to have whatever you want. Like, we get to have it all.
I love it.
My like energetic self is like crying, like that crying emoji of just like tears. Like
So
I can
excited.
feel myself crying behind this of like joy. And I'm also realizing that on August 1st, I'm going to my ancestral homeland of Australia for a month.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so my guide's like, yeah, why do you think you're going? And da 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 da, and the timing. And I always knew something was coming up around my family. Like I knew it was more than just a trip, but now it's going to be a trip, literally. And it's going to be this ability for me to anchor that new timeline and anchor that new energy into my family there. Right. Which I'm just excited about. Like, I'm not afraid anymore, to do this work. Like, I'm just like, let's do it. Like, this is the best. I can sell this.
It's not scary.
yeah.
I can sell.
Oh, embracing, right? Embracing what is, right? Embracing
Yeah.
change.
I think
Go ahead, Natalie.
I think maybe we need some clarity, because we talk about the bifurcation because like I understand what it is, but maybe the
Yeah.
people listening are like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
What's
what is that?
happening? What does that mean? Maybe a little clarity around what exactly the bifurcation is, and like what it's like it's a 3D 5D split. I think, Jess, didn't we talk about this on the last podcast
We
episode?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you hear a lot of different versions of this, yet it's all very kind of same orientation, right? It's kind of the same thing, and we're just going to make it really simple, exactly like what you said. We are ascending, right, into a fifth dimensional plane. We're taking the planet, like the planet is moving with us, right? The planet is ascending into that fifth dimensional consciousness. And because we can't, it's almost like, I'm trying to figure out the right word. Just let me see what wants to come through here. So it's that separation of the old and the new, right? And in order for this to happen, I really get the feeling, and you hear this all the time, that this has never happened quite like this. And I feel like there's variations of this that have happened. And again, I don't know the whole story because I don't really know all the universal information that's available.
Weird.
But right. But But this is kind of very unique. And in order for this to happen and it feels like it's something about the balance. In order for the balance to stay intact, or in order for it to occur in a way that's safe, there's an element of safety. Being able to do this way, but ultimately there's a new earth that already exists. This has already happened. It already exists. So we're bridging that timeline and allowing a birthing of a new expression. We're bridging that old expression to the new expression. So we can't just have the old expression completely disappear. We have to bridge it.
And do you feel like there will be, in our lived experiences, like pockets of 3D, pockets of 5D, like people living and existing on these different timelines within the same plane of reality?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do feel like that. I do feel as though there's different versions of Earth available for all of us, even though, we have our next door neighbor who's having a very different experience than we are. We're on a different version of Earth. And eventually, I feel like the further away that we get, we're really not available to one another. Right? So
That's what Jess and I were saying. Like there will be like a natural separation, a natural like connecting of people who are like on a similar timeline over here versus people like coming together over here who are on a different timeline.
Yes. Yes. And that feels like a process. Like it feels like a process that happens over a span of time. But again, as we continue to update, that timeline changes, right? So that's the thing about like about these timelines, they're always changing, right? They're always
damn
changing.
Timelines.
Yeah, it's really hard to see. That's why my guides will show
Slippery.
me you have till August whatever, and then you haven't built that out yet, right? That hasn't been built out yet. It hasn't been decided. Humanity doesn't know where they're going. So this bifurcation is something that I feel like that separation happens, and then there's a trifurcation that comes in.
What?
Yeah, there's even further, and I feel like that's where we like it feels like it's if this is how I'm perceiving it, okay? And there's a lot more information to that, to this whole process, right? It's really big. And if I were to look at it, it's more so the masculine and the feminine, the separation of all, right? But then we bring in that trifurcation, the Trinity, the Father, Son, the Sacred Child. Or sorry, the Mother, Father, the Sacred Child. Right? Yeah, look at me.
Oh, you just switch back to an old patriarchal timeline just for a hot second.
Yeah, I just really...
And see how weird that sounded to all of us? Like, what?
Yeah.
No.
But I haven't gone into all of that. I just know that there's another way coming in where it's that Trinity, that full on there's another layer coming in. And do you want me to give you the timeline of what I see of what this looks like for us? Okay, so next year it looks like this. So this is, don't freak out. This is like how this is being experienced for me, my perception of it as burning down of the old. Okay. Not what we could perceive this as. That's not what this is. But what I'm seeing is it almost looks like a dead, desolate earth. It's not dead, but it's the burning down of all of the old, right? So the trees are just like, they look like they're charred and burned, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And that's in 2024. And at the end of 2024, it's when we start to build the physical new ways. It's when the new energy starts to manifest, and we're going to experience it, right? Bringing that stuff in, the abundance, the fulfillment, all of that stuff. But the earth, the humanity, all of that stuff needs a little bit of time to catch up. And we start rebuilding, or the end of 2024, 2025. And then by 2030, we look back. There's something about 2027 is really important too. Like it feels like, yeah, like an even bigger, I feel like that might be that the bifurcation moves into a tribe, like a whole new frame, right? And I'm not going to try and explain that because I haven't totally gone into that. But it feels like it has to do with, like, right now we're focused on mother, father, principles, masculine, feminine, coming back in and connecting, right? That heroes, gamos, that marriage within the masculine and feminine. But then we bring in that element of the sacred child, which is the innocence, right? The
Oh,
purity.
chills.
Going back
Ooh.
to that organic connection to creation, that first expression, the birthing of. Yeah. So 2030 feels like we look back, and without getting too detail oriented, we look back and we're like, whoa,
What
that's
we're
when we can
doing.
really, yeah, like we're really like, wow, this is like a really big change. This is a new expression, a new earth. And it feels like that's when we're really kind of more so living it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it and perceiving it. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make, like, everyone, I always feel like it's so important for everyone to tune into their timeline and their experience, and um because it can be different for everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah. What are you guys feeling?
I felt like next year, well, I've heard, I don't know, I haven't like spent personal time delving into it, but I've
Yeah.
heard from multiple people that like the general consensus is 2024 represents a split.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
That would make
And
sense, what you're talking about, the bifur, the split, yeah.
mhm.
And rebuilding the new and the old, dead, desolate earth. Yep.
Mhm. Mhm.
Done.
Yeah. What do you think, Jess?
Yeah, I was just pulling some dates. I think that this Aries Libra access for 18 months is going to help us. Aries is just like, let's get this fucking shit down.
Yeah.
And Libra's like, let's take it apart. Like, oh, so we don't like blow up things. So there's going to be a mix of like blowing things up,
Mhm.
like just you're done in a day, and also piecemeal Libra taking it down,
Mhm.
like, in that
This is
way.
fair for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, like, so it's like both. And then in early 2025, when the nodes shift again, we'll be in Pisces Virgo, which is perfect for new systems based on spirituality. So I think
Yeah.
this next 18 months, everybody, like, buckle up and like
Mhm.
do your individual work and
Do
get
your work.
ready to be a builder and a helper and a grower. And
Or
yeah, but
don't.
like, or don't.
Or don't.
Or don't.
Your
I think
choice.
people listening to this podcast probably want to.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, join us. But I also kind of feel like it trips me out how many realities there are. But there's always been multiple realities existing, like the Fey realm, and there's all these other realms existing that we don't see, that are on our planet, that can move in and out of reality. So I think the bifurcation and the 3D 5D, like, we will just start to see other things. My whole thing though is like, I keep getting information about like the environment.
Mm.
Yes.
And it's like, if the people who are existing are still doing all those detrimental things, like, our power has to become great enough so that the norm is that we take care of the environment, and the norm is that we protect the planet. Because I have heard that Mother Earth will just shake us all off and kill us all. So,
Yeah. And
she'll like reset for us.
Mhm.
I feel like that's part of that. It's all through. I'm going to go back to the nervous system, Natalie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we open up to our multidimensionality, right, which is not separate from us, a lot of my clients are like, so our multidimensional selves is like really far away. It's like, no, we are our multidimensional selves, and we house our larger selves in our physical bodies, right?
Mhm.
Our physical vehicle is, I can't talk, sorry. Our physical vehicles, it is our multidimensional selves. We're just opening up and accessing more of it and converging it through our human experience, right? So there's a
Mhm.
merging of worlds, right? Our light body and our higher selves will be experienced through our physical expression. And that's why I always say we're taking our bodies with us, right?
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
more we open up and access those larger energies, the more we start to move with Earth, we start to become one with Earth in the way of interconnectedness, right? We
Yeah.
feel her, she feels us. It's a very synergistic relationship. Like, everything starts to work together. Um, we feel Earth, she feels us. We won't be able to hurt people in the same way because we're too connected. It's like hurting ourselves. But
Yes.
what I wanted yeah, what I wanted to share was about the nervous system. And it is the nervous system that is so important, Natalie. Absolutely, because our nervous system is what holds, it's like our antenna, right? So our nervous system holds not only our experiences on this planet and those imprints of energy that don't allow us to soften and anchor and access our bodies, right? But our multidimensionality innervates through our nervous system. So all of those expressions connect through our nervous system, right? So not only are we working through this lifetime, it's like that antenna for our larger selves. So, you
Ooh.
know, when there's like a lot of energies coming in and we're like, zzz, and we're buzzing and our nervous system gets really intense, we're unwinding, unraveling all of those default settings that are connected through the nervous system. And it is unraveling and softening into all things that allow us to be in our bodies, to further deepen that connection, to be able to be in our bodies. And everything connects through the body. The body is so important right now in this lifetime because we're taking our bodies with us. So if you struggle with, you know, connecting with energy, interfacing energy, understanding how you work all things, it's not something that you're going to want to ignore, right? It's you want to
I don't think you can.
No, you can't.
You're not going to be able to.
Yeah, that, you know, disconnecting is not as easy as it once was, right? Jess, you were saying that, like that old way, that's not working for me anymore. So nervous
No.
system work is really important, but not connecting to a framework, connecting to you and flowing with what is coming in, what's in your moment, what's available, and allowing your experience to be what it is, because we're in uncharted territories. We've never been here before, unprecedented times. So our body doesn't know this, right? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, unprecedented times. There's all these memes about I'm so tired of unprecedented times.
Yeah,
when can it be precedented?
yeah, we've never been here before. So a really big thing is what you'll notice is the physical things that we used to feel, like everything that we think we know, we have to throw it out the window, like about diet, about food, about the way that things are. We have to throw it out the window and show up and flow, because that essence, that soul essence, is very watery, and it just wants to move and be free and able to communicate to us, and we want to flow with it, right? Until we merge and we become one. So we have to learn to flow with our internal cadence.
Ooh.
I know.
Like so easy to say.
Well, and I just journaled about diet and food this morning. Natalie and I are doing the artist way, and we're in a little book club together with some friends, and that's what came up was like this like, because I have Virgo North Node, so I'm like, what is the system that works for me in my body? And every single system that I've tried external, right, has not worked, has been a failure. It doesn't feel right, doesn't fit in. And I was journaling today and I was like, how do I find what works for me? Because right now I don't trust anybody. I don't trust a dietitian. I don't trust doctors, because everything is so heavy with diet culture and you can't eat this and restriction. And so, I mean, this is my lifelong journey, but I'm just like, I have to figure this out, because I'm also uncomfortable in my body right now. I'm uncomfortable at this weight. I want to move. I don't like the pains that I'm feeling, but I'm also like, nothing external is calling to me.
Yes.
So I'm just like literally that's what I had this morning. I was like, okay, so I guess it's an internal journey, and I'm going to figure out like what tools to bring, or how to, like my guides are like, you can ask us, so I'm like, okay, like, and I'm excited about it, because I feel like it's going to be mine and it's going to work uniquely for me. And that's what I feel like those other systems are not designed to work for the individual.
Your map, right?
Yeah.
You've mapped to you, and we all have. That's why that internal guidance system is so important, and why we're starting to feel like, okay, that doesn't work for me. And people aren't going to healers as much as they once were, because they're starting to access things for themselves. And plus, it's you know, what was working isn't, because there's new ways coming in, and we're all learning how to heal ourselves, right? We're all learning how to connect to our own energy. We're all learning how to um navigate today, navigate our moment.
Yeah.
And that's a really good point, with what we're going through, because we can often mistaken it for illness. We can often mistaken it for we're going backwards, right? But if we're
Mhm.
taking the bodies with us and we're updating to a whole new blueprint, and we're holding all these imprints of separation, all of these lower frameworks in our body, that has to be able to let go and detox and release. And we have to create space for that to happen. Yes, 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 right, Joss?
Yes, for
Jess is
sure.
letting it go for you.
Like
Yeah.
my guides are like emphasizing this like so hard. They're like, you guys have to hear this. Like they're like pressing their like foot on a pedal. They're like, this is so important. I'm like, okay.
Yes. And the crazy thing about food is that's all changing. And you know, we have the capacity to change the organic structure of food by connecting with it,
Yes,
right?
we do.
Water, all things. We have
Donuts.
yes, we can change all of that. So then what's happening is, and here's another little tidbit, is what once was a lot of physical supplements and medications and things like that, now it's like, well, just put the frequency, like an infusion in your body, right? That's all you need. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, well, I can't think of this concoction, this homeopathic remedy, but I know I can feel what they're showing me, or what it feels like. I can feel what my body needs. So you actually put that in your body, and it gives you the same kind of that resolve that you would have if you took it physically. So sometimes we're needing to check what's physical and what's frequency based, because we're moving more into accessing frequencies versus that physicality, right? The physical
This is
things that
insane.
can actually be very dense for us and pull us down. Go ahead, Jess. Sorry.
No, dude, this is insane because I have heard people talk about this thing that's coming that's going to be like this rapid fire healing. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? And as you're saying this, I'm like, oh, this is
This
it.
is what it is.
It's frequency.
Mhm.
Oh my God, it's insane.
Chills.
Because before I was like, how? This is like, it almost seemed impossible, but now this makes
Yes.
like absolute, complete, perfect sense.
Mhm.
Yes. We're made up of technology.
Yeah.
Okay. Organic technology. Think of the stars, right? We're made up of organic technology of the stars, right? Our technology in our bodies. I call it diamond technology. It's like that diamond consciousness. A lot of people
Mhm.
talk about that. And our bodies know how to heal. That technology is like pressing a button. Once we can grab enough threads of ourselves, okay, and learning how, like, how to navigate us, right? Like how to interact with energy, how you interact with energy. Once you kind of grab the threads of more your multidimensional self, you can say to your body, hey, harmonize. It's like pressing a button. That's how the body works, like technology.
It is. I totally agree. And I also feel like, yeah, a lot of people are not going to healers anymore. Like I haven't felt called to even come back from maternity leave to take, because there's just not the audience that there once was for it, which is great. Like I love it. I'm here for it. But like healers are now going to have to be stepping into this next iteration of what their journey is.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we're not really doing any favors by showing up and saying, "Here, can you heal me?" Right? We're all needing to know how to do this on our own. So for myself, my practice moved into more mentorship a while ago, and
Mhm.
we're who is that, Jess?
It's
That's
her
my
husband.
husband
It's a
and
ghost.
He's on yes, everybody showed me. And
and
when
a
I'm like, I
bird.
can't talk right now because there's someone else here. I'm like,
It's a
There he
ghost.
goes.
but we're all accessing, we have to access those threads, or we're not able to navigate this space. Like it's so important to learn us, right? Through
Yeah.
that physical experience, connected to the energetics and so on, and showing up for what's available now, right? Where are we going? That openness to change, embracing change and the unknown.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we can get really stuck in what we think we know and cause a whole lot of dissonance for ourselves.
Mhm.
right? So when we talk about frequency healing, you'll hear a lot of people talking about, you know, what's available, what's coming, and it's this thing external to us that's going to heal us, right? But
Right.
there is nothing like the technology that we have in our bodies when we learn how to access it, when we learn how to navigate that space, right? When we learn how to check in what's available for me today, what do I need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even just acknowledging, how do I feel? How do
Yeah.
I feel right now? Yeah. What's
Snaps for that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just and using your breath. Your breath connects your outer world to your inner world, right? It's like
Mm.
threading it together. So exploring and witnessing and being open to learning to new to learning you essentially. I get really excited about that.
I love this for us.
I
Yeah,
do
it's
too.
it's really really big. So
Mm-hmm.
that frequency that's coming, I feel like we are the frequency that's coming.
Yeah, we're just getting like a little, like an iOS upgrade. The software
Yeah.
update.
Yeah, we're getting a couple of those.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like, when if you've ever like updated anything, you just kind of have to like let it go and the little blue line will move
While you
and
sleep. Yeah.
yeah, and then it'll shut down and it'll restart and your background's different and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it is we are in a simulation, so I love the use of the technology and the idea of that because that's so present in our current, framework to be like, let's update ourselves.
Yeah.
I do want to ask. Okay, because I've heard on the different timelines that there's some kind of like an internet blackout that's maybe gonna happen, maybe probably gonna happen. Um, and I can't help but feel like it's somehow tied to AI because we're on like a fast track, like a slippery slope to outsourcing to AI. And I feel like we're at a place in our evolution where we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah, that's oh, those timelines. Yes. What it feels like, and I'm so sorry, Natalie, it always takes me to like the larger kind
Yeah.
of framework around that. And it feels like there's going to be a lot of stop,
Mm-hmm.
start, stop, start, stop of this in order for a new way to come in. And there, so if we go into internet blackout, do you want me to check in on that internet
Heck
blackout?
yeah.
Yeah.
Check the lottery numbers while you're up there.
Yeah, like if we could just get, what, a couple gold bars and
Right.
a rainbow and a unicorn, that would be great. So what it feels like is, and Jess, I think you're checking in too, aren't you?
Yep.
She's like,
It for me, it feels like there's pockets of things that happen. And it doesn't feel like and again, this can change, but right now, today, as I'm looking at this, it feels like all these pockets of outages and changes and stuff like that. But a worldwide outage doesn't feel likely right now.
okay.
Do you get that? What do you feel, Jess?
I get that the outages are there as part of the waking up process. How funny
Yes.
to like turn out the lights to then
Mm-hmm.
have people realize what the
Turn in.
darkness looks like and then realize how to turn it back on. Like it's kind of like what they're saying to me is like just like when you have a power outage in your house, there's something like, oh, like we light the candles and you realize like how much shit doesn't work. But
Yes.
then what you're left with is just yourself, very much like the pandemic was a global outage, is what they're saying to me.
Mm.
Right. And so a lot of things were turned off, though not the internet. So just that connection in a way, sometimes we need to disconnect those connections or be free of those connections so that we can form new connections or have an opportunity to form new connections. Like that's why they would go out. So maybe we should pay attention to where the blackouts occur.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Do you feel like Jess there'll be and I'm asking you too, Natalie, just I saw that Jess was kind of tuning in. Do
She's
you feel
clicked
like
in.
there's one blackout, or does it feel like, because for me it feels like multiples and in different areas, but that doesn't mean
Yeah, multiples, and also like, oh, the storm knocked this out, or this knocked it out, or
Mm.
it's like different reasons too.
Yes.
Um, they're saying not to cause a global panic around it, but more
Appreciate that.
to do the work of the on off switching, kind of to let people have those experiences, or to realize, like, for some communities, like, how important it is to be connected, and like the government can shut it off with the snap of a finger. So like we need to take that out. So like you said, there's the blackouts are happening in different areas for different reasons for different people, because we're all kind of working different angles of this.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, and then another point that my guides are telling me. So people can be experiencing a world. So as this split becomes more and more underway, the old Earth is likely going to experience some catastrophic, like more catastrophic changes, right?
Hmm.
And people in the new Earth are not going to have that same experience, right? So if
Just
you
talking
Yes.
think
about
about,
this.
yeah, so if you think about that, and you can be having this experience where everything's great and someone else could be having a worldwide blackout, right?
Yeah.
Jess
Not,
and I were just talking about this. Like, we see this stuff right on social media, and you see like all realities, all lived experiences on social
yeah,
media. And Jess and I will hear about these like awful things, and we're like, I just don't feel like that's happening on my timeline.
yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
that's why it's like, oh, that's nice. And if you feel fear, okay, where's the fear? Alchemize it and then reconnect. And
Hmm.
yeah, right.
And
We want to
I'm
be,
getting that message huge, because my guides are saying some of you guys might be fearful.
Hmm.
Like exactly what Lindsay said, like feel it, alchemize it, because it's natural, I think, as shit is
Yeah.
happening and chaotic things are falling down. That's a natural thing, but like don't let it overtake, right? Don't let it consume.
Because then you kind of align with that timeline.
Yeah.
Hmm.
absolutely. The other thing that's really important is as we, kind of we move into higher timelines and higher frequencies, we are more permeable
Hmm.
to energies. So it's almost like really creating that space for yourself until we fully anchor, and merge of the worlds. There's all these moving parts that are trying to come together, right? So it's like we're converging timelines from our multidimensionality, from imprints, from I said timelines from, there's another one I'm trying to say, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is we're feeling all that in this lifetime, and we're integrating them through our this lifetime and this experience, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, we're all having different experiences, and those timelines, I think what I'm trying to say is those things can bleed through.
Hmm.
Those
Yeah.
experiences can bleed through. But going back to what you're sharing is we're becoming more sensitized, we're more permeable, and we have to be kind of more aware of, not because it's bad and good, we just want to nourish that, not be
Just be
here.
aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah, nourish that. Like, notice how you're feeling when you are in your own space and feeling really good and nourishing you. And then when you're around someone else,
Hmm.
right? Is that nourishing me? Is this for me to hold? Is this helping me with the timeline that I'm on? And only because it's there's things, if we're not paying attention, there's things that can easily pull us off, and those polarity energy, like we hit those lower frameworks are like, oh, I want to play with you, right? And then
Hmm.
it just is like in this attempt to kind of pull us, it's like that rubber band of the ego, right? It tries to pull us into what we know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So we don't need to play in those energies anymore. We don't need to be a part of it. So unfortunately, yet fortunately at the same time, right? Some people are falling away because there isn't that resonance in that moment. And doesn't mean that they won't come back around. But I think it's so important for us to remember that we are cultivating and creating something that we have never experienced. And every desire that we feel in our heart, in our being, is what we're moving towards. And that is insane within itself, right?
It
To even
is.
think that that's possible. We are flipping on that switch. This is really important. Every day, flip that switch from a limitation to possibility.
Ooh.
Ooh, snaps.
Ooh, I love that.
That
Yes.
default setting is strong, right? And we're moving away. accessibility to possibility, accessing. Wow, I love that I can't talk. Accessing possibility in a whole new way, right? We've never had access to this, but we have to remember, oh yes, we're at this choice point where the old is still here, right? We're living in this old and we're embodying and anchoring in this new, and trying to live in this new experience and timeline. And we have to remember to choose that every day.
Because it
So
is a choice.
yeah, it is a choice. So when my guides would have me wake up and flip that switch to possibility. And then they would have me almost like I was walking out on like this beautiful cliff overseeing like the universe, but like this new earth expression. And then I would ask the universe, what's available for me today? What do I need to know? What's available, right? And asking, inviting in through intention change, inviting in possibility.
I love that.
I love when you talk, Lyndsay, because man, the visuals are freaking insane.
Jess is in space. We're all in space.
I'm like, it's like I'm seeing like you walking on this earth, but there's like this grid underneath it that like as you put your feet on it, like affect it. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool how far up you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I am definitely, you know what it's, I was just telling my girlfriend because of where I work and that future multidimensional aspect of me that I'm connecting and working with, that is from the future emanation, like that emanation of the new earth. It's like beyond that. It's like planets or futures beyond that. It's hard to explain. And I'm meeting her in the middle and bridging that blueprint, right?
Yeah.
There's actually other aspects of me involved in that too, to create this. It almost looks like this lock and key. It's really interesting. But so when we talk about moons and portal days, I don't write or connect with any of that. It's an earth thing because I feel like I'm not on the earth right now. So it's like, and my guides are telling me, well, every day is a portal day, right? Like that's
Every day is a portal day.
every day is a portal day, right? So they're like, for me, in that energy, because of where I am, and I'm not always going to be there, right? I'm just about to anchor more into my human experience, which I am very excited about because I feel like I haven't really been here for a long time, right? But it's the work that I chose to do and how I chose to do it in a shorter period of time. And yeah, but it's like, okay, so now we get to, we're anchoring in the light and the frequency, but now we're anchoring in the joy and the manifestation and the creation codes in physical reality. It's huge.
It's no big deal.
Wow.
It's just your typical Monday podcast.
I just feel like so filled up. I'm just like,
I know.
I'm just like illuminated and like stuff is like busting out because it just feels like this is going to help me as all the chaotic stuff comes, right? And to help others. Like it's just like it's just like holding on to this feeling I have now, like it's all worth it. It's all necessary. It's all happening anyway. And so just to like help people not resist and let go, and just like move it along.
Yes. Yeah. And I think in that space of separation, right, the people who aren't moving into the new earth in this lifetime, there are people who are going to do it in multiple lifetimes, right? There are people who are choosing. You have to remember where they are. They chose to have a specific experience here, and that doesn't mean going to the new earth. They were never meant to go to the new earth in this lifetime, right? They were never. Yeah, and we have to remember that everyone is here to have their own unique experience, and we're all here to contribute to the whole.
And one is not better than the other.
Right. It's not like shirts versus skins.
Yeah.
Like we're not against each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And the more humanity can embrace that experience and that expression of whole, right, and seeing each other as we're all doing the same thing in a different way, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Us to hold love in our hearts and see it from that higher perspective where we can, integrate that polarity construct ourselves, right? Where we can see that it's all just part of the greater divine plan and design.
Oof. And for the humans out there, Venus retrograde is coming.
And yeah,
So there's
another story.
so like it's very on par with what you're saying, the astrological energy that's coming up, because we're already in like the shadow of the Venus retrograde. So you're going to start to see divorces, breakups, marriages, engagements, babies. It's just like you're going to start to see like an uptick in those relationshipy things falling away, things coming together because of this retrograde that's coming up. So just be aware.
Yes, and we can't create change by doing the same thing, by
No.
experiencing the same thing and the same people. So these are people that we have chosen to interface in our earthly experience to help both. Because there's never, you know, when you meet people and they're like, oh, they did this, right? It's like, well, what was your experience in that, right? There's always a coming together. There's two sides. There's like that agreement of what is in this for both of us, so both of us can learn and evolve and move in that direction of coming home to ourselves. Essentially, that's it. Everything is guiding us home. Everything.
Amen.
It's a homecoming. I love it.
Yes.
I feel like that's a good note to wrap up on.
Yes.
I don't know where we are. What are we? Is it still Sunday? I don't know. Yeah. So thank you, Lyndsay. Oh my God, there's so much information there. And I feel like there's also like a healing and an awareness that will come when you listen to this episode that might take a few days to actually sink in.
Yeah.
Come back to reality. Is there anything that you have coming up that you want to invite people to explore?
Yeah.
I feel I am opening up a whole new tailored framework around mentorship. Which is geared towards your blueprint. I don't do things from a standpoint of my container. I gear everything towards your blueprint and what's meant for you. And for whatever reason, connecting to intuition, ascension, you know, wanting to be on track with that, you know, re-encrypting to the new way, whatever it is, opening up, stepping into your purpose and mission, all things. And then I am opening up to the public soul print. I still haven't done that. It came in a new way, and that's connecting to mission and purpose, but also through your blueprint, through your soul's magic, right? The gifts, your origin, all of it coming together, and how you're meant to serve from a space of fulfillment, right? Stepping into you in all ways. And then the next one is soul print the body, where you learn about your body, about your intuition, using your body as a guide, your truth detector, right? Your body is that truth detector. And then just there's more group stuff coming, but essentially I'm going through a transformation in my business too, where I'm getting ready to hold more, and I think we all are, because humanity is going to need that support, right? So and that support isn't always going to look like you're opening up space to heal people. There are different things coming in for people that are going to allow you to step into, because it's, remember, we're no longer sacrificing. Sacrifice is off the table. So if it's fulfilling for us, right, it's that fulfillment, that joy, that lit up hell yes. And you may be called to do something that you're like, oh my gosh, this isn't even what I thought I would be doing. So mission looks very different now. So some will be opening up platforms to help people heal, and other people may be stepping into something totally different. And just being you is everything.
I love it so much.
Really important to remember. Yeah.
That's exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody can find you on Instagram at Lyndsay Diamond, right?
Yep.
And then your website is www.lyndsaydiamond.com.
Yes.
Look at me.
Yes.
Yeah. And the Instagram is great because it like takes everything that we've talked about today and like gives you nice little chunks, like a little bite-sized piece to focus on. That's however when I go to your Instagram, it's like my little vitamin.
Yeah. Like frequency vitamin.
Okay, how do I, take this little slide in or feel this little slide in? It's bite-sized. It's doable with all the other stuff we have to do as humans.
Yes, yes, that no more big posts. My God, to like little baby posts. That's all everyone can take in right now, right?
Yeah.
I know that's why I'm on Threads. I really like Threads, by the way.
Oh, I haven't tried that yet. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's very bite-sized. I mean, it's the Twitter. It's Twitter.
Yeah.
But
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm super enjoying it. I feel like Threads is a new iteration. It's just like thoughts. And then like, here's my thought for the day. Take that with you or don't. But there's no
Your
more like
choice.
long form sales
Yeah,
pitches.
we can't
Thank
we
God.
can't do long. There's no space. Yeah.
Yeah. And then for us, Jess,
Yeah.
this you're going to Australia.
Going to
Season 3 is
Australia.
wrapping up.
Wrapping up.
And we are going to do our final episode, per usual, a live
Yes.
Q&A.
Yay.
We're going to do that Sunday, the 30th at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So look for a link to that. I'm going to have to reteach myself how to set it up. And we'll post it on Instagram. And then Jess, I don't know if you're going to send out an email. You can include a link in there too.
Sure, I will.
Are you sending out an email? A July
Yeah.
email? Yeah, okay. That's what
I
thought.
did I started doing like I was gonna do like monthly emails that dropped down to quarterly. Now I've done 2 this year. So I
Solstice
don't
emails.
yeah, it's like when I need to communicate things. But yes, we will do that. And so bring your questions about the new earth is what I'm hearing. What do you guys want to know
Yeah.
about the new earth? Anchoring in your work there. Like I love it. Let's keep this convo going.
I love it so much. Yeah. Thank you, Lyndsay,
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so amazing. Thank you for helping me come back to the conversation. That was, yeah, you guys are so lovely. Thank you.
Maybe we'll have you on next season too. We'll
Yeah.
just do like updates with Lyndsay.
I love it.
Aw.
Well, we will see you guys on the 30th.
Bye.
Bye for now.